All right. Hi, everybody. It's Tuesday night. It's our CFB Talk 130. My name is Bob Kyrie, and on Tuesday nights, we like to talk to you about whatever you want to talk about in college football. So if you'd like to join and have a part of our conversation, would love to hear from you. All you have to do is hit request from the Twitter app, and you can be up here because I'm going to be glad to be part of this here on our CFB Talk on Twitter because Reddit itself has had problems all day. So, as I've always joked, folks from Reddit, we can't point fingers at any instability Twitter's ever had with its programming because Reddit, man, it was, I think, off for several hours today, but not right now, not here. And I'd love to hear from you. And let's talk about some topics in college football. So if you'd like to join, hit request. But there's some things going on, right before I get into some of the majority of what we're going to talk about, which is going on in FBS. One of the fun stories, and I always love talking about these, British college football in the United Kingdom, which always gets confusing because they say UK. We're not talking about Kentucky. We're talking about the United Kingdom. They actually have a college football season. It's all club teams. It's all relaxed. They are actually playing their national championship coming up on the 21st. So we're going to have a game thread for that. We'll have a link to that. They usually put it on YouTube. The University of Nottingham Gold will face the University of West England Bullets at the David Ross Sports Village. I'm not sure where that is. But there will be a live stream. We'll share that. It's always fun to see college football, no matter where it is. They had a great game last year where University of West England scored late to win 28-21. So there is college football happening. We'll share that when it comes up on the 21st of this month. But other than that, there's obviously a lot of going on here in the United States as we're in the off season. So I thought there's some topics we could discuss. But again, if there's anything you want to bring up, just hit request and we'll talk about that as well. One of the stories I enjoyed reading this week was actually Ari Wasserman was kind of doing his own mailbag. And one of the questions was, in a fantasy world where all program histories are erased and everybody is equal, what are the best three and worst three campus locations for recruiting in 2023? Again, taking everything away. If you could strip everything away in the Power Five, what three schools really do have the best locations? And I thought his answers were interesting because I agree with this number one. Georgia Tech, the school you wouldn't expect in some regards, because Georgia Tech's in Atlanta, surrounded by the very fertile recruiting grounds in Georgia and the adjacent states. But, obviously Georgia Tech has a whole bevy of issues that it faces, even as an FBS program. But we've talked about that before when, especially, a little less than a year ago, actually a little over a year ago, when we were talking about possible changes and expansions in the conferences. Georgia Tech is always that oddball in the ACC. They're in Atlanta. They're an academically good program. They might be a fit for a program willing to take a risk on another conference who wants to get into the South. But so I wasn't surprised to see Georgia Tech led his list of programs where if you took everything else out of it, seemed to have the best location for recruiting. The other two he mentioned were Miami, which makes a lot of sense. It's always been in a great recruiting hotbed, as well as Houston, which, of course, is now going to be a P5 program starting this season in the Big 12. So those were the three he thought most advantageous geographic locations if you took everything else out of it. Now, the worst geographic locations, these, I'm not surprisingly, are more remote programs. Syracuse being up in upstate New York, kind of on an island in a no man's land when it comes to high school football talent. And then the two programs that seem to have the most to lose if the Pac-12 breaks up, if it does, it's totally hypothetical, Wazoo and Oregon State, because again, those two seem to have the least amount of cachet and are the more remote schools in those two respective states, being in Corvallis, although Eugene isn't exactly in the middle of everything, as well as obviously, Pullman on the border with Idaho. If you've been out there, beautiful place. The Palouse, have been out there myself to see a game. If you haven't, I recommend it. But at the same time, it is in Seattle, which even then, it's not exactly the hottest college football part of America. So that was kind of an interesting topic. Again, if you have thoughts on where you think where you think you'd like to any conversation into college football or college campus. One of the lighter topics being the off season on our CFB was which college campus would be the safest during the apocalypse. So this was by a reader, Partly Truth, and this is how he phrased it. After finishing Last of Us last night, I'm curious which campus would act as either like a fortress, like in the show with Eastern Colorado, a hidden research facility, but he thinks UGA, his own school, Georgia, would be near the bottom of the list. And I see we have someone who wants to join the conversation. I'm going to add you up right now as I connect because the campus borders Athens, which would be absolutely crawling with the infected. And then he thought the Air Force Academy would be a safe location. But you know what? Let's table that for a second. We have someone who wants to join us. Coach Clark, would love to hear from you.
Oh, hey, Coach Clark from West University. My recruiting areas are California, JUCOs, and the transfer portal. I will tell you this right now. Apart from the academies, because they all have guns, Western Oregon, for a long time, we had the police academy on campus. Law enforcement is still a big deal as far as what we offer as degrees. Law enforcement education. It was kind of how things got started, and we've added a whole bunch of other stuff. But that, and it's like all the surrounding towns are places where the high schools, the population is cut in half during hunting season. So I think we'd be okay.
Yeah, I could see that. You'd have a lot of folks able to defend the area if there's zombie apocalypse. I love that. Oh, that's good. And it's a nice area, no less. It's a beautiful part of the country out there. For sure.
I'm an Oregon kid born and raised, and Western's really my last stop before long term, before I move out of state. It kind of reminds me how it used to be, where I grew up and whatnot.
Absolutely. Did you grow up in Western Oregon, or?
I'm from a small town called Pleasant Hill. Our claim to fame, some people have heard our family claim is that the Dexter Lake Club was in the movie Animal House. And so the Deathmobile, there's a toga party there every year where all the actors that were in
the love it.
If they can get out of their wheelchairs. and Russ Francis, the Pro Bowl tight end, was an alumni, and they use our high school track. Bill Bowerman back in the day was using it as a test, as a guinea pig for synthetic test. So we had the other guys out there running on it, and until other tracks got nice, the big track and field championship for a while.
Yeah, your audio is a little bit wonky there, but I got most of that. I have to say no worries. Western Oregon also, I know the Wolves. They've got one of the coolest logos. I really love it. It's one of the sharper looking logos in D2. They're over, obviously. You guys are in the GNAC. Although wait, did that finally merge, or?
Well, no. So GNAC.
It's Lone Star for football, right?
Yeah. Yes, we were in the Lone Star Conference for football. So what ended up happening was, I'm probably the last guy to hear about this, but the Lone Star Conference, there was 3 D2s left in the Pacific Northwest playing us, Simon Fraser, and Central Washington. So it's not much of a conference. They ended up, so the GNAC dropped football, and so we decided to play half our games in Texas. And it's actually kind of cool because we get to play against some pretty legitimate dudes.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I think that's going to definitely improve the quality of play. There's a lot of good programs in the Lone Star. And yeah, that was always kind of a tricky situation with that football scheduling. One of our team is heavily into D2 Inkblot 9, and he's active on Twitter and all of that stuff as well. And I know he's kept us all really closely abreast of what goes on at that level, and especially that move has been really big. And I think it'll improve the quality of football across the conference for sure.
Yeah, and I'm hoping, because I have to tip to my hat to my co-coaches, how they do things. Western's been running. We don't have near as much funding as you'd like to at this level. We ran on a budget for a while. I'm hoping that it might, that it'll get people interested in what we're doing and support us.
Yeah, for sure. And speaking of, it's so funny because the way you describe Western Oregon and the campus, because I mean, for those of you just tuning in, we were talking about like which campuses would do best in the zombie apocalypse if it were to happen, which was one of the lighter topics on our CFB this week. But one of the other campuses, it's kind of in a way sort of similarly situated. The number one selection, at least based on the way people had kind of voted on it, was App State because it's isolated way out there in Boone. And he's like, you can basically isolate the whole area by closing the 3 roads that go into Boone, which I know to an extent. It looks like Thak wants to join in. It'll be nice to have him up here. But I know that's one of those things that when they had game day, it was kind of a problem because they had just, I know actually it was really funny for App State this season, only because they had 2 of the biggest things their football program has ever hosted. Obviously, when you're talking about the biggest things in App State, obviously that win at Michigan is in the pantheon of their biggest moments. But they hosted North Carolina, and they were talking about it all in the offseason, like this is going to be the biggest game in the history of our program. And then next thing you know, they upset Texas A&M, and then they get game day. So they were like, that was even bigger for them. But I think that's a similar thing for Western Oregon. And goodness, I have to ask you, since we're talking to you, and any opportunity to talk to folks like yourself who are coaching and doing this, what's your thoughts heading into this season for the Wolves?
Well, it's probably going to be business as usual. We've got 11 seniors we're trying to replace right now. I mean, I will tell you this right now. I mean, this is probably, since it's only my second year coaching college ball, but from what I've seen, it's one of the better classes we've had in a long time. I've never been a part of a coaching staff that has had multiple 2- and 3-star players. I will say right now with the coach, my job on the staff is to analyze junior college players in the transfer portal. And I will tell you this, if anything, the creation of the portal has been good for us because there's a lot of great talent out there that's not getting noticed, and we're kind of picking up on it. We're finding some guys, some legitimate dudes. I mean, when I played my junior college ball at College of the Redwoods, there was a kid named Lyndon Rouse who I played with, who ended up being a 2-time All-American in Humboldt. And and that's a whole nother story. I mean, he was the only kid that CR ever had an SEC offer, or hey, we're interested in you. And, that happened all the time with freshmen, with our guys from like the Pac-12 coming in and looking at our players, But like LSU actually sent a phone call to our head coach at College of the Redwoods. That never happened in those days. And now those days are, with the portal, those days are gone. Like I'm putting my spreadsheets together in December, January, looking at JUCO players, and there's some pretty good guys, and then I go back and check it later, and I'm surprised no one's talking to them. They've had maybe some offers from the school here, NAIA schools, they got to recruit the nation super hard and send out as many offers and videotapes and all that and whatnot. But I'm just surprised at the level of ability, and some of these guys have been offered by no one.
Absolutely. And it's interesting to hear you say that, because I never even thought about that aspect of the portal at all levels, particularly at D2. I know you guys have a very tough opening game. Visiting the reigning FCS champ, South Dakota State. That'll be a good game, though. I think that'll be it's going to be a good way to kind of benchmark, and see where you're at with a lot of this.
Yeah,
that's going to be.
I'm looking forward to all that.
Absolutely. I'm sure the team is as well. That'll be a fun trip, and it'll be a good time of year to be out there. Certainly not at the end of the season.
Definitely.
I live in Minnesota. I say all the time, there's still snow on the ground out here. So I hear you there.
Well, we had a little bit. I live in a suburb of Monmouth called Fall City. I mean, they played one of my first losses in 8-man football was getting drubbed by those guys when I was coaching high school. I can, if I sub at the high school there sometimes, and so I could walk there from my RV, I'll wake up in the morning and it's snowing, and I just check to make sure that there's no snow delay or anything with the other schools. I actually had ice this morning,
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. And it's been colder on the West Coast this year for sure.
And it was actually kind of cool. I was doing one of these on a day we got snowed out, because I got a snow delay, so I go into the office to crunch some numbers, and I see there's a talk going, and it's the guy hosting it. I had to look at it for a while. I went and chimed in, and it turns out it's Coach Luther Campbell. And it's it's Uncle Luke from Two Live Crew. Miami football and diehard enthusiast, and he's a high school coach at Miami Northwestern High in Florida. So
that's
dang
great.
it, I'm on I'm on a Twitter chat with Uncle Luke.
Wow, I love that. I had no idea that's what he was up to now.
I regret not asking him though. So what happens if your players sing any of your old songs, as crude as they are, and how many laps do they have to run if they get caught playing it in the locker room?
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Because talking about the bad weather made me think about that, because it's just a thing in Oregon. Most people out in the sticks are fine. We're used to driving in snow, but you get on I-5 and you go to Portland, people lose their darn minds. It's like, this didn't happen in San Bernardino. No, I'm kidding.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, it's, you get this, but the longer no, maybe it's the reverse for me. I grew up in Bakersfield, right? The armpit of the state of California. And I always like to say, the longer and then I moved to LA, and then I moved out to Minnesota. But the longer I was in Minnesota, the more I started to actually resent the people in California who have no idea how to drive in snow. But but
probably anybody living on the Sierra Nevada was fine.
Yeah, for sure.
Or Tahoe.
We have a couple of other people up here, and I'd like to let's Thak, and then let's talk to Daniel really quick. Thak, what's going on, man?
Hey, what's shaking, guys? What's shaking, man? I'm actually from Sacramento, so to hear from you from Bakersfield, man, makes me actually feel pretty good.
Yeah, it should.
Go Kangs, like the beam.
Bakersfield people, we know our
guys,
place.
like the beam. Anyways,
so Daniel, what's up? What are your thoughts?
So I actually went to San Diego State, to be perfectly honest with you guys, and I actually, being from Sacramento's actually a larger media market than San Diego, so I'm really curious as to how San Diego is going to appease the lack of Los Angeles, and then maybe if Dallas is there, but with SMU, I mean, I don't know, dude. I just really don't understand how this is all going to shake out, dude. Because the LA schools are really going to just basically this conference really doesn't have much without LA. And I really hate to say it, being a Northern Californian, because Stanford and Cal are not going to be able to carry this place.
Yeah, there was actually an interesting article about Stanford and how they're trying to approach NIL in a very different way. I believe the quote was they're trying to show that you can be a program that doesn't really go deep into doing what most programs are doing in that, and basically can Stanford win without NIL deals.
I love it. It
was one of those questions that
confident. David Shaw was so. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but David Shaw was so confident that such a great football coach, and he ended up, kind of just very casually stepping away. So, and Troy Taylor, and to be honest with you, Troy Taylor, I'm from Sacramento. He's a Sac State guy. I've actually worked in the Sac State athletics department. The guy's a great man. I wish him all the best, but I mean, he's really got an uphill battle, dude.
Yeah, he has. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and will it be like Harbaugh, who rose up to that challenge coming from,
from USD. And I was at San Diego State. I was at San Diego State the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
Harbaugh was at USD. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Sure. And I was actually thought that was a good. I remember in 2000, after 2000,
Joshua Johnson
they really hit the bottom. Yeah, but with Walt Harris, they absolutely hit rock bottom. And when they hired him, I was like,
and Buddy Stevens.
Yeah, but if you can win at a non-scholarship FCS team like Harbaugh was, I'm like, well, I had no expectation that he was going to upset USC in that first season, but certainly
Correct.
I thought he could be good, and then he built that that foundation there. But yeah, Troy Taylor, it's really funny because again, when folks were on RCFB on the Reddit part were responding to that article, well, first of all, I love it. Anytime you get a question in a title, it's usually a simple one-word answer. Can Stanford win without NIL deals? The number one answer on RCFB was just the word no by
yeah,
Charming
that's
Charles.
Stubborn.
But,
stubborn.
some people were like, that's going to send Stanford to the FCS. But part of me was joking, like, well, they got Troy Taylor and he can win at the FCS. So,
a school with like $10 billion in endowment. Yeah, no, they're not going.
Hey, Harvard and Yale could become gods of football should they choose to, but they obviously choose not to. So, I mean, I think maybe is that where Stanford's heading? Stanford should just be, maybe that's it. Maybe the Ivy League should become bi-coastal. They'll add like.
Hey, you never know.
Man. Hey, I want to bring in Thak as well. Thak, what's going on? And I know we've got someone else.
Thank you for the time.
Too. Yeah, absolutely, Daniel. Hey, Thak, what's going on, man?
What's up, fellas? How we doing? Can you?
Good. How are you?
Wonderful, wonderful. Hey, Coach Clark. If I gave you any advice, first game of the season against that tough FCS reigning champion South Dakota State Jackrabbits. After watching a lot of terrible Iowa,
go Jacks!
After watching a lot of terrible Iowa football, if as long as you're able to get 2 safeties and a touchdown, I think you might be able to win. Anyway, I wanted to touch base on something real quick. You're in peak off-season posts. One, we're asking what college campuses are the best for a zombie apocalypse. The real answer, with 100%, without a doubt in my mind, it is going to be Texas A&M Corpus Christi. The campus is on an island.
Oh, yes. I remember. And they're called the Islanders.
They are.
I only know this because when we did
the first 4.
Did they win tonight?
Did they win? They beat SEMO.
Oh, nice. No, they came up a couple of years ago because someone from that university donated to one of our fund drives, like our charitable fund drives, and we'll put their school flair and all that stuff. But they had a club team at some point, so we had to add the Texas Corpus Christi flair, and that's when we learned all about them. Found out they had the coolest looking mascot, which I don't think they have anymore.
Yep.
But it was like this giant tiki god type of creature, I believe it was, and yeah, no, that's a great answer. That's a really good answer.
My buddy played minor league baseball out in Corpus Christi, and he's from Northern California, much like I am. And he was like telling me about the humidity. He was like, it was unreal.
Yeah, you're swimming.
Unreal. Yeah.
although
we're from NorCal, man. It's pretty good living.
Although they don't feel the football team, I will positively say without a doubt that's my pick for the zombie apocalypse. Just shut it off, close it down. But
and I mean, I'd say the only ones, and they're kind of analogous to what Coach Clark was saying with all the police training facilities that are near their campus out in Western Oregon. The military academies would probably do well.
Yeah, that's what I saw in there. People were.
Yeah, Air Force Academy being so already kind of a bit remote, and West Point as well. Someone gave another one that was really good, and I like it because Houston fan, Let's Make It Awkward, brought up a school that I know of. It's called, and it's funny, it used to just be called Deep Springs, which is a JUCO, but it's a very particular JUCO. It's a really weird. It's actually, they don't advertise because they couldn't possibly take the applicants. It's way out in the middle of the desert mountains between California and Nevada. And it's got 26 students. If you go there, you're on a self-sustaining ranch where you're supposed to do hard labor to maintain the ranch. And they're famous because they get like transfers to Harvard, Yale, like wherever the kids want to go, because there's such unique candidates if you go through that program.
Wait, what's this place called?
Deep Springs.
Are you sure it's not called Holes?
All right, I'm Googling it because I'm in Sacramento. So
oh, yeah. It's I don't even know how you get to it from Sacramento. You probably have to go up to Tahoe and come out, go south, because like I know to
Deep
reach
Springs College. Okay, yeah. Dude,
yeah, they had to add college. They had to add college like in the last 10 years. They used to not have that in the name. It used to just be called Deep Springs.
Students 26.
Yeah, it is, and it's been around forever.
What the hell?
Yeah. We learn things on our CFB Talk.
Bishop is like way out. It's like almost damn near a ghost town. You know who's from Bishop, California? Do you remember Matt Williams? He was the third baseman for the San Francisco Giants, and then for the Cleveland Indians, Arizona Diamondbacks. I think he was the manager too for the Nationals recently. He's from Bishop.
Well, all I know is if they got 26 guys, they could probably field an Ironman football team or something. Yeah. Hey, I want to let in the other person who's up here, reigning natty champs.
Sorry.
Take it easy, fellas. MIZ.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. Thanks, Zach. Hey, what's up? Is it Quinch? I don't know how to do your username, but it's Reigning Natty Champs. What's up? We'd love to hear from you. Sometimes there's issues with the mic, so that's okay. I just oops. Let me see there. Sorry, I accidentally hit a button. The wonderful world of trying to run this solo as you're also trying to do these things. There's a couple of other good topics.
Mr. Reddit, may I ask you a question?
Huh?
Mr. Reddit, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Where are you out of? Because I know I'm from Northern California. I know Reddit's probably based out of Northern California. Is that where you're at?
Well, I mean, yeah, Reddit is. It's based in San Francisco, but I mean, we're our CFB, so we're like the college football team. We're not like employees of Reddit. So
totally understand.
But I'm based in Minneapolis. My other co-hosts are taking a bit of a break. They're in usually one is in
my old boss lives in Chanhassen.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that's in the metro. Yeah.
Yes,
it's part of the Twins.
Right. Absolutely. This is fun, man.
Absolutely, Daniel. And let's see. I think it looks like Reigning Natty Champs got his mic unmuted, and then I'll go back to Coach. What's going on?
What's up, guys?
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing good.
Oh, nice.
What's on your mind, man?
I'm just wondering, what do y'all think about the hiring Chris Beard? I know this is about college football, but
that's been one that, and I'd love to hear from anyone who wants to talk about that, but that's one that we've been hearing about kind of lightly in the background.
Hey, obviously, the SEC, it just means more.
It does. Yeah, I like that. That is definitely what it feels like. Somebody just wants to win, baby. I mean, we've seen that before. I mean, there's a couple of head coaches that have been hired who seem to be kind of in the mix. Oh, and Thack wants to come back up. I think he wants to add to this conversation. Hey, Thack, did you want to say something about Chris Beard now?
So, well, I mean, in addition to the Hugh Freeze hire, it definitely does not make the.
Yes, Hugh Freeze was exactly who I had in mind.
Right. Right. I
there
don't
was
know
another
what's
one.
Well, Bobby Paterno at A&M. That's the other one.
Yeah, for sure. It is a tricky one. It is like just win, baby. So
I mean, it's hilarious. In addition to, I mean, here, think about it. Does that make the Zoo the most pious SEC team now? Look at Dennis Gates, great guy, and Drinkwitz is just kind of
California.
I know you love Coach Drink. Oh my goodness! I just want to quickly I just want to quickly circle back. Coach Clark, is there something you wanted to add? Not to necessarily that conversation, but another topic you wanted to bring up.
Well, we were talking about all the NIL stuff, and I'm still figuring out how some of that works. I mean, there's good and bad with anything. I mean, for one, there's only a handful of players that are really getting rich on that. I mean, we got a couple Barstool kids playing for us at Western, but that's about it. What I will say is the good thing about it is that, we still keep tabs on that sort of stuff. Like when we put people up in a dormitory and we feed them during a visit and stuff like that. We have to have that paperwork, what happened, we document that.
It's been an interesting kind of,
but situation. I will say this, the bagels and cream cheese rule, that stuff, those days are gone.
Those days are completely gone.
You're not forfeiting games on a season because somebody bought a load of groceries for a kid or something like that. The dumb investigations are gone.
Or someone had extra breadsticks or something like that.
Yeah, those days are long gone and good riddance. For giving your snacks to a walk-on who isn't on a full meal plan or something. And those are the kids. I was really happy when they got rid of the restrictions for food because those were the kids that were dealing with it. Anyone on a full ride's getting getting 3 square meals a day,
Absolutely.
But I will say this, with all this crazy stuff like the super conferences, I feel why I haven't watched the NBA in years. Thank you, Portland Trailblazers. And Rasheed Wallace. Just kidding.
Dame Lillard, baby.
Yeah, I have fond memories of the Jailblazers. I'm kidding. Well, actually, Damon Stoudemire is actually coaching at University of Portland and doing quite well. Not a basketball guy. I wrestled in high school.
He just got hired at Georgia Tech.
Yeah, Oh, okay. That shows you how much basketball I watch. I'm the only guy on the ESPN Plus app that probably watches women's college hockey.
Sorry, but I don't have a lot of hobbies.
I just have to say, kind of talking about NIL, I agree with you, Coach. It seems to benefit. I mean, at least in the really crazy numbers, just a handful of key players. Although, I was reading something interesting in I believe it was David Ubben, who's now at the Athletic, and somebody had asked him, how does he envision, pardon me, the future of college football in about, I think, 10 years, so like 2033, which is crazy to me to think that's only 10 years from now. But the one of the things he said, and I thought it was interesting, was thinking about how NIL and the portal will kind of stabilize in a different way. And his approach was interesting because he said, like, if you're a third year player, you're going to go in your junior year, and for some reason however these collectives are working, you're pocketing a decent amount of change, like a high tens of thousands of dollars. Like you're somehow getting 60, 70, $80,000 for whatever reason, and then you're now in the back of the depth chart. You're less likely to jump in the portal if you don't think you're going to get that kind of money elsewhere. I mean, that may not work out that way. I mean, certainly some players have been pulled out of the back of a depth chart and done just killer at their next school, and certainly improved their chances to make millions in the NFL. But I thought that was kind of an interesting observation of, will that over time, will we see a bit of stabilization for him because there isn't that incentive?
Maybe, I mean, well, that too, and it's just Division I that's really got that problem. I mean,
right.
The portal hasn't changed anything for us at the small schools. It's always been this way. You could transfer wherever, up, down, sideways. But there's another thing I've been thinking about it with. I'm because of all the super teams we've had in the NBA, I don't think much of the super conferences either. I'm glad that they're expanding the playoffs, because I have a feeling with USC and UCLA boot, they're going to go to the Big Ten and they're going to get curb stomped. It's going to be a tough go unless they can out recruit Ohio State and Michigan. They're going to get beat on. I think they got to be able to play with the big boys there.
Don't you think the Chris Olaves of the world will stay at UCLA if they're in the Big Ten and not go to Ohio State?
Well, I don't know, but I will say this. I mean, if anything, their chances of making the playoffs are better with that. I mean, I'm just a coach. I watch film and
it'll be really interesting to see how they do, because they're going to be. Yeah. I think the first couple of seasons there will be a bit of.
Jonah Williams just went to Alabama and is starting, left tackle for the Cincinnati Bengals. So I totally get, how.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing why the 14 playoff wasn't a good fit. It's the first time we've ever had California kids, which make up a good portion of the Pac-12, go to the East Coast. Those kids would be playing.
It's an exodus.
And
you guys bring up something good, because a good point.
Brock
maybe
that'll
be enough to kind of stabilize that a bit if some of these teams on the West Coast have a better shot at it. But frankly, the expanded playoff is going to help in that regard.
Well, too, and it's like you have better shot of staying in the Pac-12 of making that than just getting curb stomped in one of these super conferences.
Getting curb stomped. I mean, guess what? I think it was just last year that Oregon beat the hell out of Ohio State on their turf.
I don't know. They could have done. They had kind of a rough go towards the end of the season.
Whoa! What game did you watch?
Hey, we'll see,
Western
guys,
Oregon football, because that's where I was coaching. I love my job.
Fair enough, sir.
But
I'm a baseball guy, so I'll totally respect that.
I mean, to tell you the truth, I only watch so much. I mean, my teams, if I had football teams that I watch, I get geeked up. I mean, we talk to the Oregon State guys. They're just next door to us. They come to our showcase. We rent their facilities and if it's smoky during fire season. But I mean, if I had to pick two,
So to the West.
Hey, so guys, we're going to slowly start wrapping up, but I want to give. I know reigning champs. You got.
I had one more comment about the expanded playoffs. For one, it's going to keep the West Coast kids home. You're going to have a better chance staying in that conference, and it's going to create, I wouldn't say necessarily equality, but it's going to create equity in the recruiting war and the NIL stuff. It's like, why would you want to go to an ACC or an SEC school and ride pine for 4 years if you're a 4-star recruit, when you could go to, any other, go to Coastal Carolina
or BYU and be a 3-year starter. It's gonna make things, put a little things more in favor for the little guy, And what do we like about college sports? Bracketology and upsets.
Absolutely. So, hey, reigning Natty Champs, what's up? I'd love to just hear your final thoughts as we kind of wrap this up here.
I was just gonna ask you. I'm a big Ole Miss guy, and I was just gonna ask you, what do you think in the QB room?
That is a good question. I admit I'm not as familiar with the QB because they have the because who's
Jackson Dart still there?
Yeah, I was about to say
Walker
Dart
Howard and Spencer Sanders.
Spencer Sanders from Oklahoma State?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, hey, Lane Train is gonna kill him. Dude, he's gonna those guys he's gonna pass for like 4,000 yards and 40 touchdowns.
Yeah, I'm excited.
I think Daniel's got the strongest opinion on this, so I'm gonna lean on him.
Hey, I'm from California, man. Lane Train's a Fresno State guy, dude. We got the dude. Come on, man. I went to the same college as Joe Gibbs.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. Well, all right, folks. It has been a little over 30 minutes on the off season. We've been doing these kind of tighter 30-minute shows. I just want to thank everybody who's up here. Reigning Natty Champs. Thanks
for reigning Natty Champs, dude. Best of luck to you, kid, dude. You're a cool ass kid, dude. I'll talk to you soon.
And Daniel, Thack, and Coach Clark. I just wanted to thank you all for joining us, man. Thank all of you guys. It was a good conversation. We do these every Tuesday night. This turns into a recording if you wanted to hear what we talked about at the beginning and missed it. But on behalf of myself, Bob Akayeri, this was our CFB Talk 130. And I hope you all have a great rest of your week. Now, I'm going to hang up and listen.
Good night.
All right. Good night, man. Hey, good looking.
Thank you.